Today I want to go through the Crochet project tracking spreadsheet. There are three versions of this: Excel, Google Sheets, and a more simplified version that is PDF that can be printed. The purpose of this spreadsheet is to track for a small business tracking for crochet specifically. So you can see down at the bottom there are multiple different tabs, which I'll go through each one separately. But each tab is basically its own thing and its own tracking system. So I'll start with the project tracker tab. This one is used to track all of the projects that you've done in the past and then ones that you're currently working on. The purpose of this is just to make sure that you know all of the ins and outs of each project. So what type of yarn did you use? What hook did you use? What color yarn? Did you use polyfill? Things like that. So you don't have to try and think about, 6 months down the road when you have an order for a project that you worked on 6 months ago and you don't remember what you did to make it. This will give you all of that information. So just going through the different columns, you have your project name. And by the way, these are all typable fields, so you can just put the information in and delete it as you wish. If you used a pattern, you can put that information here. And the time taken, I added a start and finish date just in case you want to keep track of how long that specific project took you. There's yarn information, so brand, where you purchased it from, the weight, the color, and the number of skeins for that project. What size hook did you use? And then these two columns here are actually drop downs. So did you use polyfill? Yes or no. Did you use safety eyes? Yes or no. And then was any other product used? And so this one is just a typing field. Then we have notations, so measurements. What was the final measurement of the product? Future reviews for do's and don'ts. So maybe there's a magic ring that the pattern calls for and you don't like to use a magic ring and you want to use the chain method instead. You could put that information here. The difficulty level, so was it basic, easy, intermediate, or complex? And then if you want to keep track of your inventory, whether you sold the item or not, you can keep track of that here. So moving on to supply inventory list. This is to keep track of any yarn that's in your stash, any other products, maybe polyfill or safety eyes or hooks, anything that you want to put here, you can. So the only drop down field on this tab is this item. So whether you want to put yarn, eyes, or other. If you choose other, you can type here and put the description of what that actually is. All right, moving on to the pricing calculator. So this one is specific to amigurumi. However, if you wanted to use the pricing calculator for anything else, you can use this other calculator here, but I'll go through amigurumi first. So you are going to add your project name here. If you work off of an hourly rate, you're going to want to use this first set of the calculator from this column to your left. So you would type in your hourly rate. So we'll just do a test one here. If your hourly rate was $10 an hour, and let's say you spent 2 hours on it, in order for this formula to work properly, you need to put a colon and a 00 or your minutes. So if you worked 2 hours and 15 minutes, you would want to put the 2 colon and put your numbers after that, or your minutes after that. It won't work if you just were to put 2. You can see it's wanting to give you $480 and then it zeroes it out here. So we'll just put the 200. That gives us a $20 rate. The cost of yarn per skein. So let's say that I spent $11.99 on a skein and there were 1,000 grams per that skein, and I used 500 grams for my project. So that gives me a $6 yarn total. Polyfill, if I use polyfill, I can put that information here. So let's say it was a $5 package of polyfill. There were 200 grams and I used 50. So that gives me $1.25 for polyfill. The eye cost per package, let's just say I spent $15 on that and there were 20 eyes per package. That's going to give me $1.50 total. This total will automatically calculate 2 eyes for your project. So if you were using more than 2 eyes, let's say you were creating a spider or something that had 4 eyes, just make sure that you would want to double that amount in your mind, because this will only calculate 2. If there were mailing, you can put that information here. So I'm just going to put $1 for each. Other material description. If you wanted to put a description, you could put that there. So you can see that it's adding up your material and mailing costs to $10.75. And it's saying that you should price your product at $30.75, giving you a $20 profit. Now let's say that you wanted to price your project without using a wage amount. So this amount that we put over here, this $10, and you wanted to kind of use more of a market value for your price. You can put that information here. So it's still going to calculate your materials and mailing, but let's say that you're seeing other crocheters pricing this type of product for $40. So we could put that information here and it's going to tell you that your profit is now $29.26. So moving on to the pricing calculator other, this is the same exact calculator. The only difference is it doesn't have the columns for polyfill and eyes, but all of the other, the way that it works and all of the other columns are the same. You then have your yearly overview. This is going to help you keep track of a simplified version of how much you're spending in supplies versus how much you're spending or how much you're receiving in profit. So let's just say that I bought yarn at Hobby Lobby and I spent $50. So now it's going to tell me that my expenses are $50 and I'm in the negative $50 because I didn't put any sales on here. So now let's say that I want to add a sale. So I made a dino. The sale type was on Etsy. I sold 15 of them at $5 a piece. So first it's going to calculate over here your total for the 15 dinos at $5, which is $75. It tells us here in the middle that our sales total is $75, and now you can see the profit on sales has changed to $25. So we're no longer in the red. So as you add to your expenses and sales, this profit on sales will change, the sales total and the expenses total will change, and it'll tell you whether you're in the green or black for the year. Moving on to the weekly planner, this date up here will change based on the week that you're in, and all of these dates will change as well. And so this is a very simple planner. It's just to plan out for just a week. This does not give you the monthly or anything like that. So you can add any goals that you have for the week, any must-dos that you need to complete. These are all typable fields. And then anything that you want to break down per day. So if you wanted to put a specific item on Monday, you can type that here. You can keep track of whether you completed it or not with these in the white columns, either with a check mark or an X. This glossary here is nothing other than a glossary. You can't type in here, you can't choose any drop downs or anything like that, but you have your stitch glossary, so these are the most common stitches. So if you have an abbreviation in a meaning that you're looking for. We have hook conversions and eye size conversions. And our last one is a testing tracking tab. This is for any crocheters out there that write patterns and use testers to test out those patterns before they release them. A lot of times you'll have testers that you really love, and then maybe you'll have one that you don't like as much, and you kind of want to keep track of that so you don't have to try and remember that information. You can type all of that here. So let's say that you had a dinosaur pattern, so you put dinosaur here, whatever you called it. What social media outlet did they test you, or did you meet them on? So maybe it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever that is. What was their social media handle? What was their testing score? So pass or fail. And then any notes that you want to put in here. Thank you for watching this crochet project tracking tutorial. If you loved this spreadsheet or the PDF version of this, please leave me a review.